Back on Inside Tennessee, this was one of those that we mentioned, a race in the city where the person who spent the most money did not win. Now, I will say there may be an adjustment to Amelia Parker's number there because she hadn't issued her latest filing by the time the election rolled around, so that will bump up a little bit, but you can see it's almost 7-1 or so spending-wise. And these were both activists in their community, both well-known, well-respected women who have served their communities in a variety of different ways. How do you sum up this race, Susan?
Honestly, that is incredible that it was 8-1 or 7-1, something on the expenditures. I think that there was a lot of business people behind Amy. I heard that almost everywhere I went during this election. And she got the money, there's no question about it, but we all said Amelia Parker she's to be reckoned with.
She's a political force.
She is.
Probably the most disparate, different race by way of candidates we had of the 4 city council seats coming up. Both very bright. You know, to call both of them activists, while true, their activism played out in very different ways. And I think Amelia Parker has become one of our favorites, the ghost of Carlene Malone, as I like to call it. She might be the rebel rouser on city council.
Let's move to District 5. These are 2 lawyers who were working against each other, and in this one, indeed, Charles Albawi fell short of the winner, Charles Thomas. And again, this was a race where the person who spent the least amount of money won the race, John.
Does that say $2,000?
$2,000.
$2,600.
Yeah, Charlie.
Wow.
Well, you know, Charlie's always a low-key dude, and that's the kind of race that he ran. But he didn't have to get really out there. Everybody knows Charlie Thomas.
So you see the difference there, John. You saw what Amy might have spent, almost $80,000 versus $2,000. So is there a prescription to future candidates in the city about how much is too much or how much?
No, there isn't. There is no perfect answer.
Right. The old saying of there's 10 ways to skin that cat. Well, Charles Thomas did it by being just a really good soul, and not to say anything bad about Albawi, but you know, Charlie Thomas has been around this town a long time. He's done a lot of good works. Formerly served on the CAT board. He's well known.
If Charlie's watching, Charlie, I'll bet you wouldn't have spent any more money if I'd given you the option. He would have been like, "No, John, I'm good."
You know, I want to go back to the governor's race, and we talked about that many
Kentucky?
times. This Tennessee's
hours, all that money
can we not
spent
talk about
last
Kentucky
year.
the money. $22 million or so by Randy Boyd, 17, 18 by Diane
Gut-wrenches.
Black, and Bill Lee was 7. So, I mean, I think it really does just depend on the race, who the candidates are, and it is never just about the money. It's other things. And in this case, in India's case, ground game.
John, in your reporter's notebook, you have a couple of other things you want to cover based on this election.
Remind me what they were.
Well, you wanted to talk about the map.
Oh, the map. Can we show the map again?
We might be able to,
All
but
right.
in general terms.
The map.
The map is
The
interesting.
map that showed the precincts that India
The
took
orange and
versus the
green.
precincts that Manus took. I just thought it was interesting to show that really, with the exception of the North, there's that gorgeous map, which Katie Filippo did, one of our producers. It speaks for itself. You can see just how pervasive, basically, her influence was. We don't have the gradations, but you really don't need the gradations.
What are those 2 little green precincts on the bottom?
51 is out west. That's
I think
Dean
that's
Hill.
towards
Dean
Vestal.
Hill.
Well, if you're looking
Yeah.
out west across the river, there's a little spot south that Eddie
Vestal?
carried.
Just a reminder, Eddie
in that
Manis
area.
in green and Indya Kincannon
Right.
in orange on that.
We
map.
knew Eddie would take a lot of the North. We knew that.
2 interesting things that we've talked about here. Sequoia Hills was carried by Indya Kincannon by 48 votes, and West Hills was carried by Eddie Manis by 83 votes. And I think a lot of people are surprised by that. Sequoia Hills is, we used to think was traditionally Republican. That's no longer true. We're seeing a real shift.
Your definition of traditionally Republican was 52-48.
Yeah.
This went 51-49. There has been a shift,
48
but I wouldn't
votes.
call it. Yeah, I wouldn't call it monumental.
I didn't say it was, but I do think it is interesting that she carried that area, and that Eddie only carried West Hills. I think he thought that was going to be one of his really strong precincts.
John, Susan, and Don, thank you for the conversation. Jenna Leviton, thank you for the production of this Inside Tennessee. And if you'd like to see more, you can see them online at WBIR.com. Have a terrific rest of your Sunday.